Colonel Rob Maness has a lifelong record of providing dedicated service to this nation. Having worked his way up from the enlisted ranks to full colonel, he served our country for more than 32 years. He has served as a bomber squadron commander, bomb disposal technician, Joint Chiefs of Staff operations officer, assisted the national security team with the campaign plan for the global war on terrorism. He authored the first theater nuclear war plan and served as the vice commander of America's largest airborne intelligence wing. Colonel Rob Maness is a true American hero. This is Rob Maness Live.
National security question as well. Senator, are Taiwan and the South China Sea national security issues for the United States? If so, why?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Are Taiwan and the South China Sea national security issues for the United States, and if so, why or how?
I'm just going to be honest here. I'm not on national security. I'm not that informed on national security, but I do support the military. My brother was in the Air Force for 33 years, so I will do everything I can to support the military. My dad was in the Army. I'm not a polished politician up here. National security is not my thing, not my area of expertise, but I do support the military.
Congressman, I'll give you a chance to respond, and I'm sure he recognizes that.
Taiwan's a definite ally, and we have a trading relationship with them that is beneficial to the United States, chips being one of them, and others. So what the president is doing right is he's enabling Taiwan to defend themselves against China. But it's peace through strength that he's showing with Iran that China, Russia, others are looking at it so that they don't want to deal with America, and that's why they haven't attacked Taiwan. If they had some weak Democrat in office like Biden or another Obama, yeah, they'd take it over. But we can't let that happen. We've got to take a strong, a peace through strength is working.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. We're live on World YouTube and our X Spaces simulcast. Well, national security competence, folks, is not optional. It's not optional for a lot of us, but especially for the people that we send to Washington, D.C. You just saw the clip. National security knowledge is kind of important for a United States senator. It's not a nice-to-have thing. It's not a talking point. It's a requirement. Look at the world right now. Iran is still the chief sponsor of terror, not to mention racing towards a nuclear capability and threatening our forces and allies. That's why we're there in the first place. China is continuing to build the largest navy on Earth and probing every weak point in the Pacific. The Ukraine issue remains a meat grinder that drains American resources while the strategic picture keeps shifting. In that environment, the last thing this country can afford is senators who treat foreign policy like it's a press release or a focus group. We need leaders who understand deterrence, leaders who know the difference between strength and bluster, and who have actually carried the weight of national defense decisions, not just talked about them. Peace through strength only works when the people in charge actually know what strength looks like and how to maintain it. That's why today's conversation really matters, folks. Joining me again is Chad Caton. He's a retired firefighter, former U.S. Navy Seabee, South Carolina native, and Republican activist who doesn't mince words about the competence gap we're seeing. If he did, I wouldn't have him on the show. Chad, welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. It sounds like there's an election coming up tomorrow in South Carolina.
Yes, sir. Thank you for inviting me so I could talk about my state's dumpster fire we're currently dealing with right now.
Yeah. Well, hey, you've got a national security background, Chad. From your perspective, I just laid out why I think it's important. I've run for U.S. Senate before, and the one thing that I considered made me qualified was my national security background. I wasn't qualified, I wasn't knowledgeable about a whole lot of other things at that point in my life. So from your perspective, just how important is it to have a senator that can hit the ground running?
Well, at the end of the day, when we're talking about one of our most the craziest part of one of our enemies out there, be it China, however you want to look at it, be it economically or a world power concept. You think that you would understand what their geopolitical current situation is with an island that they believe is theirs. The United States has been out there very, very far in front of this so that we were able to help Taiwan, a very tiny island that we get a ton of our semiconductors for your car, for your computer, and all of that. Donald Trump has done a phenomenal job of bringing a lot of those semiconductors back to the United States so that we don't have to rely on this tiny island and possibly go up against the monster that is China. But to be a senator, one of 100, and having been the sister in bureaucrat politics for 30 years, longer than Ralph Norman, you think you would know where this particular island would be, especially when your brother was Lindsey Graham. He's never seen a war he hasn't been interested in talking about. And you telling me at Thanksgiving dinner here in South Carolina that didn't come up? I'm having a hard time with that. I really, really am. This endorsement, this particular candidate is an abject failure, and I pray to God that South Carolina has hurt us and we're able to put a leader instead of an intern in the United States Senate.
An intern, that's a great way to put it. Do you think that was a coached response to that to make Mrs. Nordone look human?
I hope not, because you better fire that dude real quick, because that was the worst answer you could have ever been coached on in my life. One, you did the I'm not too intelligent thing, like, could you repeat that one more time? Because you got to think of an answer, because you know you don't have one. And then when there just wasn't enough brain capacity to put this together in some formative, articulate statement, you decide to go out there and say, I like the military a lot. Just doesn't cut it. It just does not cut it.
Yeah, not when you're talking about the question that was being asked about Taiwan and the Chinese.
Well, let me ask you a question, Colonel.
Go ahead.
You're a colonel. What is the number one job of elected officials in the federal government?
To protect the United States of America. Me.
You're damn right.
That's right.
And if you can't answer that question based on one of our biggest allies and one of our biggest enemies, you don't have a place in that Senate. I'll be damned if we're going to vote for that kind of person to learn on the job. That's why I call her an intern. We ain't got time for that.
Yeah, I was very impressed with Congressman Norman's response. He did not go on the attack wisely against her individually. And just answered the question in a very professional manner, and he knows the material.
Well, that's what Ralph Norman does. He doesn't like the attack politics. He doesn't like getting in the ditch where I like to live. I feel no more normal with the regular fellers that go out there with dirty hands and whatnot, and will tell somebody where to go. But that's me. Yeah. Ralph Norman is not about going after her. He's not doing it. And he's standing behind his record as having the highest percentage of elected officials voting with Donald Trump at 97%. Tim Scott can't even say that. Lindsey Graham definitely can't say that. So this entire campaign against Ralph is an utter farce, and it's really, really, really playing out here in South Carolina. South Carolina people can tell when somebody's full of it or not.
Yeah, I mean, especially considering the man that she's wanting to replace, her brother, Senator Graham, who whether I like him or not, his policies, from that perspective, he was a very highly knowledgeable person. He was an Air Force JAG colonel for 30 plus years, as Mrs. Nordone said. That
was the National Guard, though, right?
I think it was Guard or Reserves, but he did volunteer to go spend some time in Afghanistan.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I just think it's an important situation where you had to move your family for 20 years and somebody that shows up 1 week in a month and 2 weeks out of the year.
It is, but he volunteered to go in uniform to Afghanistan in a combat zone, which not everybody is willing to do that has the uniform and is serving in Congress or some other high position. But that's not my point. My point is he was knowledgeable.
Sure.
Whether we like the policies he supported or not doesn't matter. He was knowledgeable, and he understood what it means to defend the country, which is the number one job of every elected official, as you pointed out, and everything. So when you're talking about the state of South Carolina from a national security perspective, Just how deep and broad is South Carolina's connection to the national security space where that senator has to be knowledgeable?
Well, we have the military bases. We have the Army base of all Army bases in North Carolina right here by us. We have Fort Jackson. We have Parris Island, where Marines are trained to be Marines and they earn their Eagle Globe and Anchor. I live in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, where Air Force Base that you once been to is now our international airport. The amount of veterans in El Reed County, South Carolina is off the charts. And for her to not even have and she even claims that she's keeping the same staff, which is probably the thing that scares me the most. But she's keeping the same staff of Lindsey Graham and touts how they were always there for our vast amount of veterans and active duty military here in South Carolina. For her to just put up the yellow ribbon on her car and say, I support the military, does not make one a senator.
Yeah. What do you... I've been waiting to ask this question. What do you think the objective is here with this candidacy?
Well, it depends on what context you ask that question. Are you talking about the endorsement of Donald Trump or why she's running?
Well, why do you think she's running?
I think the manipulative staff that Lindsey Graham is famous for, the power structure that is held through Lindsey Graham's office and the amount of donors that are wrapped around Lindsey Graham and have since Strom Thurmond. Remember, that seat has only had two people since 1954. And it is the center power base of South Carolina in every bit of its politics. Our governor ain't in charge. Lindsey Graham's office was. And that's where every one of our feckless elected officials, like a Tim Scott that voted in an 87 percentile with Donald Trump, you're out there standing on stage with him, but you voted 87%. I thought you were supposed to be about his administration. He's not. And in South Carolina, the people are red, red, red. But we have the most liberal Republican supermajority in the nation. Riddle me that one.
Yeah, how is that possible?
It's because the Dixie Democrats, who love their guns and all that, they realized that the Republican Party was taken over in South Carolina after a little phone booth GOP was formed in I believe it was a little town here north of here, and the GOP grew. When that happened, they realized they could no longer vote. They redistricted a bunch of times. My senator here, Luke Rankin, who, by the way, is the one that chooses every judge in South Carolina, because we're one of two states that does that stupidity, is a former Democrat and actually wrote a letter to his entire constituency saying, I got to become a Republican because of this redistricting. I can't run as a Democrat any longer. We have Greg Embry in North Myrtle Beach, hardcore Democrat. The Speaker of the House, I'm going to say it again, the Speaker of the House, Merle Smith, has a 35% conservative voting record. The Speaker of the supermajority votes at 35% as a Republican. It's a farce. And unfortunately, here in South Carolina, you market yourself well and you do enough fish fries, people keep voting for you.
Yeah. So Mrs. Nordone, what kind of support does she have from the Republican base that you can tell?
When you're talking about the Republican base, are you talking about the people or the GOP establishment machine?
The machine. Let's start there.
The machine is all in. They love it when Donald Trump comes to South Carolina and they get all their donors to come around him and pat him on the back, just waiting for the opportunity for him to leave in 2028. It has been a complete, for instance, when we had a GOP chairman race, we had we actually put on a debate. He didn't want to debate. So he went and did pints with beers with the DNC chair of South Carolina, who ended up running against Lindsey. And they had themselves a beer and pint episode instead of coming to the debate, because the establishment here has their finger and talons into everything. And you can't run for office here and get much money unless you get your money from out of state. But the ironic part is that seems to be changing, because every bit of Darlene's money is coming from out of state.
Yeah, I'm going to take a break here real quick. My opening question in the next round is James Clyburn. I want to know what his thoughts on this race are and see where that's going. We'll be right back with Chad Caton from South Carolina. We're talking national security, the war, and the war within. really, in the United States. We'll be right back.
Take a look at the water you just poured. It looks clean. It tastes fine. But what's really in it? Lead, fluoride, arsenic, chlorine, pesticides, PFAS forever chemicals, pharmaceutical residues, and bacteria. Every single day, these toxins flow straight from your tap into your glass, into your family. It's time for Sentry H2O from Worldview Water. Sentry H2O is the ultimate water treatment technology, designed to remove harmful toxins, balance your water's pH, and enrich it with essential minerals like calcium and magnesium, the way nature intended. From commercial-scale systems to whole house filtration to crisp, delicious drinking water right at your kitchen sink and shower, Sentry H2O delivers cleaner, healthier water everywhere you need it. No plumber, no tools, no plumbing knowledge required. Perfect for homes, apartments, rentals, RVs, refrigerators, and more. Because everyone deserves access to clean, healthy water. Visit worldviewwater.net. That's worldviewwater.net.
Well, I asked for the president's endorsement, didn't get it. But anybody would want the endorsement, but he chose who he did, and that's fine. South Carolina's going to decide the next senator. I don't know where she stands on a lot of issues. I think that's where we'll find out, where she stand on pro-life, where she stand on the death penalty, where will she stand on spending. So we'll get into the debate, which I welcome the debate. My record is an open book. You know what I've done. And I will continue that because I think that we're at a critical point, because what really attracted me to this race, the Senate is malfunctioning and is where good bills go to die. And I will play a role in passing particularly the SAVE Act, which is verification that you are an American citizen before you vote. I will be laser focused on that. And I will be laser focused on calling the Senate out. They're on a 5-week vacation. That shouldn't happen. And so that's just one of the many things. The overall conservative platform of peace through strength, the American First agenda, I'm all into. President Trump has laid out a great framework that I will be a part of and will promote. And my record backs that up. I'd love to have another reconciliation package. I'd love to have another big, beautiful bill where we, reform the tax code, where we work to cut regulations, where we empower the taxpayer. That's what that's about. And we'll debate those issues, and I'm sure there'll be some differences, but I welcome that. And I really trust the people of South Carolina to make the right call. This is a time to come together, folks. We've got to all coalesce, come together, because we have got some socialist Democrats we have got to beat. There's no way. The Democrat Party is not the party of the 60s and 70s and even 80s. This is a party that is intent on taking over this country. This is a party that's intent on taking over, having government take over everything. And folks, it's time for all of us to come together. I look forward to the next 2 weeks. I love campaigning. We're going to hit every part of the state and take our message. And, this is all about faith, family, and freedom.
We're talking about national security knowledge levels of the wars that are going on, the threats that we face, like China, and the priorities of the Trump 47 administration and their new national defense strategy of 2026. And that was Ralph Norman, who is one of 2 candidates in a runoff for U.S. Senate, along with Mrs. Nordone, a.k.a. Lindsey Graham's sister. And I think that election happens tomorrow. My guest today is South Carolina native, and I think Republican political expert, not to mention a national security man himself, Chad Caton. And Chad, Ralph Norman, I don't know Mr. Norman personally, but I've followed his voting record in the House and those kind of things. I mean, he's pretty high scoring on all the conservative benchmarks and everything. But you really got to love a guy that can say, yeah, it'd be great if I had the president's endorsement. I'd want it too. But we really just need to move on and let the people of South Carolina make this decision?
Well, you're absolutely right. And I mean, you and I were on the Veterans for Trump coalition. I was at the White House 2 weeks ago. I'm still in every bit of support of the President of the United States. And absolutely, we would love his endorsement. But with the things that have come out in this quickness that we have tried to put Miss Nardone in this position, and I was fine with her running out Lindsey's time there left in the Senate. I mean, he's been there 30 years. Probably going to take a while to clean out that office. I get it. Have those moments. Have that time. Have that honor of making sure you finish Lindsey's time in. But when she decided to run, and I know that Donald Trump fell into a bit of a predicament when he said something about Russell Fry, who is my congressman, in order for him to run in the Senate and not realizing that he would have to run for both Congress and Senate at the same time with a Democrat challenger, putting that House seat up for grabs was very dangerous. And Donald Trump told Russell, you need to drop out. He didn't do that. So it put Trump in a situation where he had to pick somebody really quick and get to Henry McMaster in order for, one, her to be put in that position, and two, for her to run for this seat because he needs somebody to progress his agenda. Now, I have people all over the place saying he's there to progress the agenda. But if we don't start looking 5 and 6 years down the road, an America without Trump in a position of power, and start codifying what MAGA is supposed to represent, we are failing our children and grandchildren. This is the greatest opportunity in politics ever. And if we, the people of South Carolina, after we've got to know Miss Darlene, and we still vote for her, we are lying to ourselves. We are lying to who we think we are in the great red state of South Carolina. And we are abject failures to our own kids. It's that simple.
It is pretty simple, and I'm glad you said that about the president, because, I mean, we both are huge supporters of the president and his policies, and you pointing out that if we don't codify these policies in legislation, then they evaporate, just like what happened at the end of his last term, and that's critically important. I heard that Senator or Congressman Clyburn has endorsed Mrs. Nardone.
Sure have. We also have a state representative that just put out on her Facebook that telling all the Democrat folks that if you did not vote in the Democrat primary, make sure you vote in this primary here, the Republican one, because we have open primaries, because that's what our feckless state house at, the most liberal conservative supermajority in the nation. That's the way they do it so that they can keep them folks happy. And that's what they're doing right now if you watch on Tuesday, you're going to see every county that is Jim Clyburn is going to be for Miss Nardone. He gave what we call in the biz, if you will, a soft endorsement. And I have it here in front of me. In regards to Clyburn's statement in the appointment, Congressman Clyburn congratulated Graham Nardone for finishing the remainder of the 119th Congress term. He acknowledged that the movement came in the shadow of her brother's passing and expressed his hope that they would continue to work together. In the swearing in, Clyburn highlighted the historical nature of her appointment. As a South Carolina State University graduate, she became the first woman and first historically Black university graduate to represent South Carolina in the United States Senate. He noted that the milestone serves as an inspiration to future generations. She's not Black, but nonetheless, she went to that school, and I guess Mr. Clyburn is actually excited that somebody from an HBCU is actually the first female senator from South Carolina. To go on to tribute to Lindsey Graham, following Senator Lindsey Graham's death in July 2026, Clyburn reflected on their 3 decades serving together. He described their political relationship as a partisan and passionate, but always pleasant and productive, and offered condolences for Darlene and this entire Graham family. Now, when it comes to the condolences, I appreciate it. But the very thing that we have a problem with a limp-wristed Republican that is not MAGA in any way, shape, or form, it should be disqualifying in my way, all way, especially with an open primary where you had him put out the dog whistle that this one's probably the one we want. And then followed up by Democrat legislators saying, y'all need to go vote in this primary. It's a dumpster fire.
Yeah. So y'all don't have a rule that if you did not vote in the primary election day, you cannot vote in the runoff?
No, if you did vote in the primary for a Democrat, that's why they say we have kind of closed primary. But if you didn't vote, you can vote in all the runoffs, all the Republican primary runoffs, anything you want to vote in. It all dictates on what you vote in the primary. If you vote as a Democrat for a Democrat, then you cannot vote in any of the Republican stuff.
Right.
But the Democrats usually put up one person. A lot of people don't vote in the Democrat primary because it's very simple. They don't usually go at it. They put one person up and call it a day. And they did that with Dr. Andrews. She is the Democrat pony. And then, so all these people in buses, I'm hoping to get some folks out there, see if some buses come up to the polls. They're going to put everybody down there to make sure Miss Darlene gets her votes in the Low Country.
Yeah, that's amazing. That is amazing. I just don't know that I want the Democrat head guy in the country to endorse me. All right, I think we got a question over in the live audience if the technology will work. Go ahead, Sean.
All right. Can you hear me all right, sir?
Gotcha.
All right. Chad, with these open primaries and the call to Democrats to come in and vote for a Republican nominee, what is a candidate? What is the tool that you can use to fight that? I mean, how do you stop that type of primary in your state?
You close the primaries. I mean, we don't register as a Democrat or Republican. We do have to show your ID, so that's a bonus. We got that one through. But at the end of the day, why would we have what we call open primaries? If we're legitimately, the GOP and the DNC is putting money into their primaries, why would you want somebody that ideologically aligns with the other party jumping ship? I asked that of Drew McKissick in our GOP here in South Carolina, and he about lit me on fire. I've asked that of Luke Rankin. I've asked that of multiple senators here in this state, and they all look at me and run for the hills because they have no answer, because we already have shown that what they do is they infiltrate to keep their establishment Dixie Democrat machine in place in Columbia and Washington, D.C.
Now, in this case, though, Chad, is it accurate? And I've seen some reporting, but I didn't have time to confirm it before I got on the air with you. Is it accurate that there are Democrat PACs actually funding Mrs. Nordone's campaign?
Absolutely. There's a green. I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me because I've been studying all kinds of stuff today, but there are two PACs, one of which was really, really behind Bernie Sanders, and the other one is a green one that's really, really mad at Ralph Norman because they try to say that Ralph Norman held up the big, beautiful bill and didn't vote for it. He, in fact, did vote for it, but he did hold it up because he said, I'm not voting for this with all this windmill and car subsidies. You remember that really upset Elon. Elon got pretty mad about that. And Donald Trump asked him to come on down and said, what's the problem? And he said, all this Green Deal stuff needs to be taken out of the big, beautiful bill. It'll make it that much bigger and that much more beautiful. Trump agreed. And the Republicans took that out and made the big, beautiful bill better. And then he voted for it with the rest of the caucus. That's what we need from our representatives. That's why we have a representative government. He did the job for the people of Greenville, Spartanburg, and that area as a congressman. And he stood in front of it for the United States and actually brought it about. So now these PACs that are super mad that they didn't get their subsidies are coming in here because they know that Darlene is nothing but a pencil. She's gonna whip it pretty easily for him because that's what her staff will do, what Lindsay's staff has done, and she don't have the foggiest of what's green and blue.
Yeah, and that's the difference. You know, I mean, you and I we think a lot alike. I think, and on this, we're pretty alike. And that is what Norman did in that big beautiful bill situation was wield power on behalf of South Carolina and Americans first. Instead of wielding their power on behalf of the PAC or special interests, anything but the American people first. Do I have that right?
You absolutely have it right. And here's the thing is that we get caught up in the celebrity that is Washington. I tell people all the time, you can tell me Nancy Pelosi's bra size, but can you tell me your legislator and your senator and your sheriff? Probably not. And that's probably where you need to start. And this is where we know Ralph Norman. We know what he's about. The data shows it. He is the top voting conservative in the state of South Carolina. CPAC gave him a 100% conservative rating. And it's just not a question when you've had somebody that her only go-to is that she's not a career politician, when in fact she has spent 30 years as a government bureaucrat.
Yeah, that's my first question for the next segment, Chad.
I'll stay away from
I was curious about that because I've seen some things and I'm wondering exactly what kind of government employee is she. We'll be right back with Chad Caton.
At a certain age, you stop chasing younger. You start protecting what helps you feel steady, strong, and well. Your body's collagen matters. It supports the structure of your skin, joints, and connective tissue. But as the years go by, your body needs more support from the inside. That's where Bella Grace Elixir comes in. Bella Grace Elixir combines Verisol collagen, the world's most clinically proven collagen, with Asteryl astaxanthin and cat's claw in a proprietary blend designed to help support the processes that reconstruct collagen, while also offering antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects. And this isn't just for women. It's for men and women who want to age with more confidence, more care, and a daily wellness routine that supports the body from within. One simple elixir, thoughtfully formulated for whole body wellness. Take care of the body that has carried you this far. Order Bella Grace Elixir today at melissahousebg.com.
In your opinion, can the war with Iran end if Iran maintains some degree of a nuclear program and retains some control over the Strait of Hormuz? You have 60 seconds.
Well, first of all, Iran's been at war with America for 44 years. It's killed our servicemen for that number of years. The president's done the right thing to take them out of commission where they can make a nuclear weapon. Biden paid bribe money to the tune of Obama paid bribe money to the tune of billions. Biden was basically numb to it and let it go. The president did the right thing to take them out by the air. Now, I trust his generals, Raising King, Jack Keane, and others are giving him good advice. He's destroyed most of their ability to what they're doing. They've got a group of madmen that are the last remnant of making Iran what they want to do, which is destroy America. And he stopped that. But we need to take them all out. Boots on the ground, I don't think America is willing to go now. But I think he's done a tremendous job to destroy him, and he'll continue to. And I think at the end of the day, he will totally destroy him.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. We're live on World YouTube and our X Spaces simulcast. My guest today is South Carolina native and Republican political activist and expert in state politics there, and former U.S. Navy Seabee retired firefighter Chad Caton. And Chad, I looked for a clip of Mr. Norman's opponent talking at the same level about the Iran war, and I couldn't find one. So I just played that one to give people a sense of where at least one of these people is. It's in the race. Election is tomorrow. Election day is tomorrow in this runoff for U.S. Senate on the Republican side here in your state there. I have seen some things, but I'm not real clear exactly how broad and deep this is. But is Mrs. Nordone a state government employee in South Carolina?
Yes, sir. She has been continuously appointed by governors and has worked in government for 30 years, 20 pretty handedly as directors and whatnot. It took 10 years for Lindsey to get his position from Strom Thurmond, in the Senate, and the power grab that he did with Boeing and Mercedes and the military industrial complex, and to get his power up to where he could go to any of the governors and say, my sister probably be good at this. And that's where she's known as DEI Darlene. She stood in front of the House committee there and said that we're legitimately trying to lead the state in. I'm sorry, we just had a huge thunderstorm. We're trying to lead the state in diversity, equity, and inclusion when it comes to hiring processes here at the Commission for the Blind. 20 years as a high-ranking official as a bureaucrat, and then she did another 10 years there within the government. All while she chooses not to vote in any of the primaries, apparently. It's weird.
That's amazing. It makes me question even more why she knows so little about national security, because South Carolina is one of those keystone-type states in the United States national security, not just organization, but manufacturing, support, and those kind of things. That just blows me away. But doesn't surprise me, because she kind of sounds like a bureaucrat when I listen to her talk. Well, let's take a question from the audience. I think I've got a hand up over there. Go ahead, Joe.
We have Margot, sir.
Thank you for letting me ask this question. Chad, I really want to talk about the fact that Ralph Norman has an office in Rock Hill, which is right on the border of North Carolina, Charlotte, which we all know is a mess. And we feel like he's going to be our senator since Tom Tillis isn't. Can you talk about that blurring border and what it means to other states to have Ralph Norman in that position?
Oh, that's a great question. And Margot is a beast of a political operative in North Carolina. I'm proud to know her as a friend. And yes, you're absolutely right. The lines of South Carolina, North Carolina is really specific when we get into football and concept of which state's which. And there's pride in both, and we're proud of it. But those lines are blurred very, very much. And that's one of the things that they've actually tried to talk about when it came to Ralph in regards to a piece of land that he owned when they tried to bring the Carolina Panthers practice facility into South Carolina. So it's just the Carolina Panthers. And a lot of what they're putting out is, in fact, untrue. But nonetheless, having a U.S. senator in South Carolina that is as close to the border as he is, understanding the machine that is the bank industry of Charlotte and what happens in North Carolina, you're absolutely right. He is definitely going to be your senator, because he's going to be a U.S. senator, not just a district guy. And Ralph understands what's necessary under the guise of what we have with the president of the United States. And that's how he's voted at 97 percentile with the president and this movement that we call MAGA and America First. So you're absolutely right. And he's going to have a real knowledge of what's going on there. And I think he's going to be a help for North Carolina, no matter what senator's there, because you're going to have somebody like Ralph that will advocate for what is necessary for Charlotte to be better.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. The new national defense strategy prioritizes Western hemispheric defense with an eye towards deterring China. But Western hemispheric defense includes border security, getting this illegal alien immigration policy totally under control, mass deportations. Where are the two candidates' knowledge levels on that, from what you can tell?
Well, all Darlene can say is whatever Trump tells her, which is fine. I mean, that's what she's there for. But nonetheless, she's like, we've got to get rid of the immigrants or the illegals. And that's the one thing that people try to use against Ralph Norman, who has been given an A+ rating by those watchdog groups in regards to deporting illegals. He said in the debate that he wants to deport every illegal, and that he also believes that we should fix the immigration to expedite people that are here legally in order to become citizens. The people that have been working, the people that have been paying taxes, the people who have not gotten in trouble, that are here legally in this country. He said that we should expedite that, but it's been prostituted by the bullies over there at the establishment machine to say that Ralph Norman in some way or another is for amnesty. He's made that abundantly clear, and it's pretty sad, and it just shows how desperate this particular group is to put her in this position so that she can maintain this centralized power of South Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, we all voted for mass deportations, and some of these rhinos are trying to change that to, well, we just voted for getting rid of the dangerous, violent criminals that are here illegally.
Well, I don't know what she's never really said anything other than they need to deport them all and they need to go, is what she said. And that's fine. But she also said she has no part of DEI. And there's an entire video of her testifying in front of the House committee saying that she's trying to lead the state in DEI at the Blind Commission. And she also says that she's pro-life. But when she was asked on by a constituent in just recently that had a camera she didn't realize was running, asked her, well, are you for banning abortion? And she goes, well, I like the 6-week heartbeat bill that we have in South Carolina. And she goes, no, as a Republican, are you for banning abortion? And she looked at her and said, I'm going to have to think about that. And then she realized she was being recorded and told her she didn't appreciate being recorded because, yep, she stepped on her Democratic tongue.
Gonna have to think about that.
There's nothing to think about.
No, there's nothing to think about. The right to life is absolute, and the little babies that are not born yet are the ones that need the most help in protecting it.
And she legitimately stated she's okay with babies being aborted up until their heartbeat, when it's been vastly proven that conception or a baby is formed at conception. And even as somebody that touts her religious views, but yet is liberal in her thought process, it's disgusting. And that's why I'm so fired up about this, because we have shown every one of our bedrock stances as a conservative and a Republican. She has outwardly said in one way or another, or in the past, that she doesn't agree with any of us red South Carolinians.
What's wrong with a red South Carolinian?
We love them, but she ain't one of them.
Yeah.
That's the problem. And they're trying to pull the wool over our eyes, which they've done for a very long time because of the Dixie Democrat Republican majority here in South Carolina and the machine and the centralized power that is around this particular office.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've got another question in the audience. Let's go ahead and take that before we get to this last break. Go ahead, Joe.
We have Marlon, sir.
Chad, thanks for coming in and talking about that. Chad, after this all blows over tomorrow, you know, there's other races that really we can make a dent in the Senate. Here in New Jersey, Justin Murphy is going against Cory Booker. Now, he's one of the clowns that your interview, Colonel, you talked about where these bills die in the Senate. These are the type of people that kill the bill. So for this younger kid, this young Republican, that's actually the nominee in New Jersey, Chad, has zero backing from the GOP. He's there by himself. So when this all blows over, Chad, I would love to be able to introduce these people. And you're right. Most of the funding comes out of state. So there's a lot of work to do after that primary, Chad. So it's great to hear you're on.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, because at the end of the day, Marlon, you proved me and the Colonel's point that we say probably for the last 10 years. At the end of the day, your GOP is the secret sauce. If you take over your GOP with people that are in your likeness and belief system, then you will start to see elected officials that represent you. Until we continue to ignore the mediocrity that is our GOP locally, we will continue to be circumventing and trying to get somebody in every once in a while. The secret sauce is taking over those GOPs and taking over that GOP in New Jersey and around the country. It is a systemic problem with this establishment cabal, and the people need to do it. That's why it says we the people at the top of the Constitution and not them and their people.
Yeah, exactly right, Marlon and Chad. Thank you very much for that. Look, folks, you hear Mr. Caton say this over and over again to the question of, well, what can we do? We've tried everything. Well, no, actually, you haven't. When you're looking at under 10% voter turnout in primary elections, I don't know what it's like in South Carolina, but it's been consistent in primaries here in southern Mississippi. Under 10% for the last 3 cycles. Even with Donald Trump on the ballot, it was pretty low in the primaries, And if folks don't show up at the primaries and don't show up at and join the local GOP and work to that effect and recruit others, it's just hard to get those wheels out of the bud.
No, you're absolutely right, Colonel. And it's a systemic problem. And I don't want to be famous in any way, shape, or form, but I wish I had a bigger voice so the American people would recognize that we keep looking past the fix because we're waiting for a shiny knight on a white horse. They cannot do it in a representative government if we, the people, don't do our job.
Yeah, absolutely right. That's why I wrote this book that's behind me on the shelf, What You Can Do About It, because the cavalry is not coming. The cavalry is you, folks. The cavalry is you. We got to take another break, Chad. When we come back, we'll hear from Jim DeMint, who is another senator from South Carolina, I believe. We'll be right back.
Introducing Worldview Tube Vault. Over 35 years of radio broadcasts, television programs, documentaries, and ebooks. Plus, Worldviewpedia, our powerful search engine for instant worldview and Bible research. Join for as little as $7.99 a month. And now, Vault members get something brand new, courses. Our very first course is here, the Book of Revelation with Brannon House. 53 in-depth lessons, complete with overview quizzes, walking you verse by verse through one of the most important books in Scripture. Getting started is simple. Go to worldviewtube.com/vault and join today. Already a member? Visit worldviewtube.com, click the person icon in the top right, and log in. Then hover over Vault in the menu and select Courses. That's it. You're in. Join WorldviewTube Vault today at worldviewtube.com/vault.
So Ralph Norman is the strongest conservative we've had running for the Senate in a long time. So as someone who served as a conservative in the Senate, we need his reinforcements there. So actually, as you can see, I voted today in early voting. And I'm confident that Ralph is going to do well. The last polls we saw were before the debate, and he had the double-digit lead. And I can tell now that the Washington swamp knows that he's well ahead because all the ads now are just negative towards Ralph. It's painful for me as a conservative to see Republicans spend millions of dollars to try to tear down Ralph's reputation to keep him from getting in the Senate. And to me, that means we've got to fight that much harder to get him there. So if folks get out and vote, like I saw today, the polls were fairly crowded, and this was early voting. So I think that's good for Ralph. The better the turnout, I think the more it will help Ralph. And again, I think the other side sees that they cannot sell their candidate anymore, so they're going to have to tear down Ralph Norman.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. We're live on Worldview Tube and our X Spaces simulcast, and it's More War Monday, and we're talking about national security cred, basically, for a U.S. Senate candidate, and the discussion is centered around this runoff for U.S. Senate on the Republican side. That Election Day is tomorrow. That was former South Carolina Senator Jim DeMint, also the founder of the Senate Conservatives Fund. And I have to be transparent. He supported me in my U.S. Senate races, and because he believes in non-politicians being elected to every political body up and down the chain in this great republic of ours. And my guest today is Chad Caton from South Carolina. And Chad, we'll get to DeMint in a minute, but I have to ask about Norman's views on the Ukraine policy, because we know what Mrs. Nordone's are, and they start with the word Lindsay. So let's throw every resource we can at it, even though it's not really in our vital interest. Where's Ralph at on all this?
Well, Ralph is right there with the president to the point where he believes that we need to hold Russia at bay, but throwing money with no reciprocation or getting our money back in any way, shape, or form is asinine. And his whole concept of it is understanding the threat that is Russia. There's a middle of the road instead of just throwing tons of money and not expecting any of it back. And we've seen Donald Trump talk about their their mineral rights. They're different things that we can get our money back from what's going on here, instead of just saying that we're supposed to help them. Overtly, Ralph wants this to be done. He wants it to be over, and he wants this conflict to go away. But he doesn't believe that we just need to continue throwing taxpayer money at Ukraine with no reciprocation, or any of that money coming back in that reciprocation, be it mineral rights or what have you. So I think he's took a middle of the road. Me, myself, and I don't know why we're overtly helping Ukraine, and I'm not a big fan. But at the end of the day, I understand the geopolitical ramifications that come from this, and it looks like it's kind of just a kill-on-kill stalemate at this point. And I haven't heard about billions and billions of dollars every 2 weeks being sent to the actor that is Zelensky.
The one that wears high heels, as a matter of fact.
He's a comedian, so he continues
absolutely.
to make me laugh.
Well, we've got another question from the live audience. This has been the best question day we've had in a couple of weeks, so I'll chalk that up to your presence, my friend. Go ahead, Shell.
We have Liz, sir.
How you doing, Colonel? Long time no talk to. Chad. Yeah, and I'm not quite your biggest fan. I think your Elizabeth is your biggest fan. And your puppy, Diesel.
Depends on the day.
Yeah, that's true. My question is, do you think President Trump is kind of wishing he had not endorsed anybody in the beginning, and that he would probably go a different direction if he had his druthers?
Well, having been in the president's world, I'd be remiss to try to answer that for the president. All I can say is that the president has a very large country and a whole planet to worry about. And when it came to this, it seemed like it was a knee-jerk reaction. It seemed to make sense based off of the love that Lindsey Graham sometimes, unfortunately, had here in South Carolina. And I don't know that it was the best decision. And at the end of the day, his endorsements are his endorsements. The president has his own thing he's got to worry about. He's worried about where he's going to be for the next 2 years, what he's trying to get done, and what we, the South Carolinian people, are supposed to send the right person for that job and after. And that's why this is such a big thing for me. I've stayed out of a lot of the midterm primaries, but this one, it actually hits close to home, because I know the power, centralized power that is in this office, that is in that staff in that office. And I know how much power they have around South Carolina. And I believe that myself and everybody else around Ralph Norman are actually sending the most MAGA Republican to the Senate, and that's Ralph Norman.
Yeah, what are we seeing from the numbers in early voting and those kind of things so far? Have you got any data on that?
For an apathetic state, it's really, really hit home to a lot of people here. The upstate has already beat their last runoff numbers for early voting. Reed County, where I'm at, is down like 400 or 500 votes in early voting. And that's because we had our Congressman Russell Fry take this county during the original primary runoff. And I'm being told that there is the president coming here. It's always good to see the president. But at the same time, a lot of people walked out of there by our local media when asked, did this change your mind? And most of them said, no, I'm still voting for Ralph Norman. I'm not all in on Darlene, but I am all in for the president of the United States, as you and I are. So we're seeing, and then in Charleston, probably the weirdest thing that happened that really has to lean the needle towards Ralph is Charleston, South Carolina. Their GOP, which is usually very establishment, I did a straw poll with their GOP, which is very powerful, and Ralph won that by 67%. So that was a big what in the world's happening right now, because for Charleston to go that way, which makes sense because yes, Darlene took it, but Mark Sanford was right there, and Mark Sanford's very popular, and Mark Sanford does not do endorsements, but he felt for the need of the country, he needed to endorse Ralph Norman. So there's a lot of momentum going on right now behind Darlene, and early voting is showing that just like you heard from Senator DeMint, it looks like it's moving towards Ralph. But this is still with the endorsement from Trump. Darlene's race to lose.
Yeah, I mean, the president's endorsement is very, very powerful. He knows that. Everybody knows that now. But it doesn't always carry the day. It
It
even
didn't for
today.
our governor, Pam Yvette. When she went to the runoff, Trump decided to endorse both. And she got pounded.
Yeah, I mean, occasionally, his first term, I think he was about 50-50 his first term with the wins and losses on his endorsement. But he's up there in the high 80s, low 90s now, so it's very rare. But this is a tough one, and this video with her response about I'm sorry, but I don't really know that much about national security. That response is going viral. Is the media, the corporate media, talking about that?
No. Fox News is basically a campaign manager for Darlene. You know how Lindsay loved to go on Hannity, and Hannity is a simp for the anything Graham all day, every day. And so, no, mainstream media is doing their usual bias and trying to pull the lever on winners and losers. But the people of South Carolina just really don't like being told what to do. They just don't, especially in the upstate. Where I live, heck, 60% of the people here, 85 people move here from up north every day to the beautiful city of Myrtle Beach. And we're the fastest growing real estate market in the country, which also goes to why we need to put somebody like a Ralph Norman in there for at least a one time or two times. And then we can have somebody like you and my friend, Adam Morgan, go into the Senate and do some work. We have an opportunity to make South Carolina MAGA, no matter what Democrats are moving into the state, just like you see in Texas from California. So we have to get this right. And Darlene is probably going to be, if she is to win, she'll probably be there for 20 years.
Yeah, more than likely for 20 years, and her brother's staff. More importantly, it's oh man, just remember, folks. Sean Hannity endorsed Bill Cassidy. Y'all remember Bill Cassidy from Louisiana? I ran against him, and he had a clear choice between me and him, and he endorsed Bill Cassidy. And the people of Louisiana finally got rid of that Jose here a couple of months ago. But he did a lot of damage. He did a lot of damage. You think about that, folks. Look, I can't endorse anybody, or I'm not even backing the campaign. I just think this is an important story at this point. And the story needs to be told because it depends on the future of America, Chad. We haven't talked about veterans policy yet. I wanted to save the last few minutes of that. Look, the president is in his first term passed the Mission Act. The community care piece to that was phenomenal. The Biden people messed it up again. There's a big bill out there called the Take Care of America's Veterans Act. Bills like the Richard Starr Act that take care of our combat wounded that are getting taxed literally on their retirements and those kind of things, and fix the community care issues. Where are these two candidates on those policies? Do you know?
Well, I'll tell you this, Lindsey Graham's staff does a really good job with military support. I will say that. That's probably their biggest benefit. I have sent multiple veterans in my advocacy to Senator Graham's office, and he has a pretty good team for that. When it came to money, though, in the VA, Lindsey was not as quick, but he sure made it look that way because his comms team was phenomenal. And that's where you've seen Ms. Nordona come out and said that she's for the military. But military, firefighters, cops, we're kind of sick of people standing on soapboxes and tell us how much they love us, but we still go to the VA and they're legitimately killing us with our own medication. Thank God Donald Trump listened to the Ibogaine argument instead of giving us RSSI drugs that a side effect is veteran suicide. We are actually making a major headway there. And I myself, and I know Ralph it has an appreciation for the military. There's a whole bunch of negative ads out there when, again, he didn't vote for particular veteran benefits because he wants to build better. because of the pork situation in there. And that's what you get when you have somebody that is a conservative-minded person that thinks that they need to stand in the breach of something. Yes, you're getting what could be a benefit, but the stuff that's stuffed into this bill is a hindrance in the long run. And so I've given them both a same on that one with Nardone, just based off of Lindsey. If I could ever give Lindsey a benefit of anything, it was just that. He did care about the military, and his staff was very good at trying to help military.
Absolutely. Well, my friend, thank you very much for coming on here. I know it's a busy time for you guys in South Carolina. Election day is tomorrow, folks. If you don't show up, you get what you don't vote for. And appreciate you coming on, Chad.
My pleasure, Colonel, as always. Hoorah.
All right. Hoorah. All right, folks. Tomorrow's Training Tuesday. We will be talking about the Take Care of America's Veterans Act and the Major Richard Starr Act, because his brother, David Starr, who's also an Army veteran and former first sergeant, is here to talk about that, along with combat wounded veteran from right here in Mississippi, William Brooks. And they'll be my guest. I'll see you then.
You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House. This is Brannon House Live. Whether the issue is law, science,